What is back? Welcome up, everyone. Today we are going to be going over the AMA that I had made yesterday, and we are going to be answering some questions. And so we're going to be doing this in video format. It's going to function a little bit like more of a casual kind of video essay. There's probably going to be some spots where we're typing and responding to people, and so this is going to be what we're going to be going through, answering as many questions as we can, or every question maybe, with maybe a couple breaks in between. And so without further ado, let's get into it. We have, it's not a question. Okay, then we're not answering it. No, we'll take a look. It's not a question, but I just wanted to say thank you. You are a huge help to any beginner of the game, including myself. I'm not sure where I or anyone who's watched your guides would be learning this game without them, so thanks. Actual question I wanted to ask, though. What would you say your ideal setup for industrializing early game is? So this actually, I mean, this has a really long answer, so we're not going to type it all out. The full answer is long. The simple answer is jam construction centers where you have iron, and also spam chops everywhere. And this is kind of the shortest sort of answer we can have here. There's like a lot of things that go into where you're industrializing in the early game. I think my early game industrialization video is a full hour long, and so we're not going to go completely into that. We could take a look, since there's no answer yet, though. 900 hours in game, a few mods. Your absolute number one priority in the early game is getting your construction costs as low as possible. This is one good way of looking at it, good enough, that you simultaneously, if they're really expensive and you have a ton of these industries, it's really not that big a deal. Over 60% of those are usually dictated by your iron price. This guy has the right idea with the iron being the important thing. So building iron until you have a tool shortage is usually your way to go. Then build more purpose tools and then repeat. This is a fine enough kind of introduction. Since the introduction of mapping, there's another factor that become relevant for construction costs, where you build your centers. If you build them in the same states where you have iron and tools, okay, so this is actually just like the correct answer. And so we are going to kind of continue on our merry way. And so we'll consider that one answered there. Okay. I just wanted to say your dating video is like one of the top 10 YouTube videos of all time. That's wild. It's certainly one of the videos of all time. There is a link to that. You can see it here. I think we'll be posting the AMA and probably continuing to answer questions once we upload this video. And so if you wanted to check that out, it is in one of the top upvoted comments. Pretty amusing that I got tricked into doing a dating video, but it do be like that sometimes. It's not really a question, though. So we'll just say big nice, I guess, and be on our way. Got any advice for building a stable economy? I keep thinking I've got it only to have income drop through the floor in the late game. So there's a lot of things that can be going on to cause you to get some sort of like late game economy drop. The answer is he's probably running out of labor, or hitting a point that he's run out of labor and doesn't have a method prepared for securing an influx of labor and getting an increased price on the labor that is making stuff less efficient, and also you can start running out of resources. And so this is probably going to be kind of most of the answers to these questions don't have like simple short answers. There's a lot to unpack. As I don't know the exact cause here. Right? So there can be a lot of causes. It could also be that he had an advantage in technology and he was exporting to countries, and countries have since spread that technology and now are no longer getting as much of an export, which means that your sell orders decrease and your profitability decrease. There can be a lot of factors. It's likely out of pops or resources. Securing long-term migration or pop growth can help, as can turning on labor-saving PMs. Often, they don't account for how valuable freeing up labor is. And the thing is when you turn on a labor-saving PM, the building itself might get less profitable. But what ends up happening a lot of the times when you turn off of labor-saving PM or you turn on labor-saving PM is that the building becomes a little bit less profitable, but then suddenly another building can employ up and it generates more profits. And this is something that is not really conveyed to the player in a way that's easy to appreciate. Also, the calculation can just be wrong, but this can help out. Running out of pops also notably can increase wage costs. And so this is the thing. The resources are a lot harder to solve when you run out, and mainly this is just the solution to running out of resources is go back 20 years earlier in the game and play differently, which needs to be done proactively. Now let's take a look through some of the answers here that other people may have provided, which I think might give some insight into what exactly this guy's asking, because this is a pretty short question. It's probably caused by steel construction. You need to prepare by it by overbuilding steel, glass, and yeah, this is true. You'll need to only swap some at a time. It's happened before I get to steel construction. This is another thing is like we have a different understanding of what late game means, and my understanding of late game is informed by having played before 1.5, where the late game was actually where you're just critically running out of resources, and it caused massive unemployment, which doesn't really happen anymore. It's really, really rare. We have it in the USA run that we like. Oop, that's not the one. This is the one. We have it in the USA run where we're starting to get instances where we're getting a little bit of unemployment in some key states where there's just too much, we're running out of resources and it's causing unemployment, but it's kind of been solved by us annexing Germany in that run, but it can happen occasionally, but if it's happening to him way earlier, then this is a bit of an interesting one, and so I'm uncertain exactly what this is, what he's talking about here, but would just like to note, I need more info, I think, because for me this would not be late game. But it might just be running out of labor. Labor is going to be, while you still have a lot of peasants, construction is way more valuable. And then when you run out of peasants, let's also make this point. Notably also, deleting construction can allow you to employ up buildings. So you not only save the amount of money that you are spending on construction, you also stimulate the economy by allowing them to be employed in profitable industries, hopefully. But yeah, we don't know exactly what he's talking about in terms of the late game, and so there are several options. People already mentioned steel construction. Another thing is you could be running out of peasants, which increases gov wages. This is not as sticky as it used to be, but it still happens in this, like, if it's persistent and you are persistently out of labor, it will increase gov wages. But with the changes they made in 1.5 to how wages are calculated, this doesn't happen as much. What's your all-time favorite nation to play as and why? I'll actually think about this for a second. So, okay, so for this question, before 1.5 it used to be Japan. But now, I think that Mappy has changed things. Local prices make it so that I really care about Mappy and resources, though. And so, so probably Germany or something like Persia or Qing to go Burr. Because Qing, you can really run the number up quite well, and these have these countries have satisfying play patterns in that you can get a nice trajectory on your GDP line with these countries, especially Germany forming Super Germany, and so this can, I think that this feels good. This feels good. Lots of line go up potential. So it feels good. Having a country like playing Ethiopia, for example, feels really bad because your mappy is absolutely terrible and you start with terrible tech, and so you can't really get going very easily. And so these countries do feel pretty good. Russia also feels really good with having the wood bonus on so many countries. But I think like we're going to see interesting play patterns coming out of 1.7, where you are going to be probably like blasting like wood and then like in Russia and then rice in China and like this type of stuff in terms of your foreign investment, and it's going to be really, really construction efficient. And okay, overall generally you're going to want to build in your own country, but you don't have opportunities for a 20% throughput wood camp in your own country. You don't have opportunities to build rice in your own country, depending on who you're playing as. And so it'll be interesting to suss out what's going to be better. But there we have that question is answered. Let's do that. I can't finish any run. I always end up bankrupt and have around 250 hours. I'm currently trying to play for the hegemony achievement as Japan, but I always get around 1860s and I don't have any money left while on high taxes. Do you have any suggestions that might help? Do you have... Again, it's like, one of the problems is like, this is... The information's somewhat limited. This guy's asking if he's getting recognized. The interest rates are going to be a lot different. Most of the time I find out I have a hard time getting recognized. So you could demand from GP and land somewhere they have no defense. As long as you can defend the coast. This seems to be what the next commenter kind of answers, which of course makes a bunch of sense. But there is a little bit of... let's see if we can kind of name any of the other problems. I don't think we're seeing too much in terms of this other guy, the guy who asked the question, naming more of his problems. But you can always roll back construction. I don't think he's running out of... I honestly think it's unlikely he's running out of labor as Japan in the first 20 years. And so this leaves me a little curious as to why he's running out of money while on high taxes. You might just be building too much construction. You notably cannot run a deficit while unrecognized. It will make you death spiral. You also want to swap construction sectors piecemeal. And otherwise you just like you go from not having just having a like really depressed price or to oscillate immediately to having just like an absolute shortage, and so you often want to swap just a little bit at a time. But yeah, this is probably has to do a combination of just spending while unrecognized and just getting mountained into a death spiral, which is going to be something you experience on a country like Japan, but not on a country like the UK, because you aren't going to have the low thing. It was very humble of you not to link the food channel, so I'll demand that you share it or face the consequences. I will face the consequences. Do your worst. Okay. We're not linking the food channel here. The food channel is forbidden. No one shall speak of it. We will pretend like I didn't say this. Except, yeah. Now what will I feed? What will I make my wife for Mother's Day dinner? This is a problem. Let's have a think. Okay, so my first instinct was just to say make her the children. We do love a good cooking the children joke, but I think that a better answer is see if you can make something with the kids. I don't know their ages. Sounds good. But giving her some me time while also doing something while also making dinner might be nice. So you make something with the kids, and then the kids can it be occupied, and then she can get some me time and get a dinner, and then you get some time with the kids, and it'll be a little bit of a bonding moment, maybe something like this, maybe something simple that the kids can probably do well at. Man, what comes to mind is actually enchiladas, which is actually a ton of work, but it's something that is mechanically simple enough for the kids to be able to do, to be able to roll like the tortillas, and then also enchiladas are just like, it's cheese and sauce in a tortilla, which is kind of the thing that kids like. So enchiladas maybe, except we reveal how not Mexican we are because we misspelled enchilada. I've made enchiladas before. Okay. What about the bagel video? What about it? I lied, I don't make cookie videos. Someone called me a fraud. The truth, of course, hurts. We might need to reserve this for copy pasting. The truth might hurt a lot this video, so we'll put it in there. Happy Loud Cars Day. Big nice. It was my cake day yesterday, which is actually why I decided to do the thing, because I was actually thinking I wasn't going to do this AMA, and the reason why, oh my god, is that the video that we have posted a long time ago, or the last comment we made over a month ago, was of course a reference, a Lord of the Rings reference that I found very amusing and had been the reason why I have not been posting on Reddit the past month. I get that OP might not be aware, will Victoria 3 be imperatored? This discussion has been extensively discussed every few days since the release of Victoria 3. It really has, and it's so annoying because like you're allowed to use the search bar. You're allowed to use the search bar at the top. I know you can't see it in the video that we're recording, but there is a search bar at the top in Reddit, and you can use it to search for a topic if you're interested in seeing what people have said about it. But people aren't, and they're like, oh, will it get the Imperator treatment every single day for the past, or like every 3 days for the past year and a half. This has come up. But I'm so tired of seeing this being asked. I feel stretched, like butter scraped over too much bread. I need a holiday, a very long holiday, and I don't expect to return. In fact, I mean not to. This just being the last thing I ever post on Reddit would have been hilarious. And it was hilarious for me for like a month, but then we decided we wanted to do an AMA. So that's what happened there. Okay. If you could add one thing to Victoria 3, what would it be? Let's have a think on that. Okay, so it's a question, if you could add one thing. If we could add one thing, cultural system that rewards you for having an underlying culture that you can influence through like education, archaeology, cultural values, like a country being jingoist, like this type of stuff. This would be really interesting to me. For example, how jingoist is your culture? Have this affect a variety of things. I think the multiculturalism should actually be a cultural thing. I think it should not, and I've said this for a long time, it shouldn't just be a law. Making racism or bigotry against the law doesn't make it actually be something that the culture embodies. And so it's really easy to make something against the law, and it's a different thing to make a culture multicultural. And I think that the system should be on a kind of underlying cultural system that I think that should be kind of like if we just took the law system here, and if we had an entire another system underneath it, like an entire another tab here, that was our cultural system that included things like how multicultural our country is. Now, there would still be a citizenship law, and the citizenship law could give you a ticking influence on, like, the cultural system, but also, like, I would be interested in seeing something like, free speech, like having freer speech allow for different types of ideas to spread within your culture more easily. Whether this is a good or bad thing, you would have to face the consequences for that. I think that the Arts Academy should be changed, and it should just be a media company I think that because we don't want to add new buildings, we don't want to add new goods, this will increase pop fragmentation, but this could just be a media thing, and it would give different PMs, let's say, based on what your censorship law is, and so the media might be more productive, it might be less productive, it might give you other types of modifiers in your states, like maybe migration attraction, or radicalism, like let's say you go multicultural, or let's say you have free speech. Maybe free speech increases both migration and radicalism. This would be an interesting thing to do. And so I think that this would be fun. And this is maybe something we could do. And I think a cultural system... I've been thinking about making a video on this as a sort of proposal for something that could be fun to put in. But that's kind of the answer if there's one answer. But I'd also like to see a monetary system, and boom-bust cycles. One of the things is I've been recently reading, and I'm very close to finishing now. It's not here. It's a book on industrialization, and one of the notes that I think was interesting, and we're probably going to make a video on this, is that they talk about how the UK was at the forefront of technology initially, but then once they had all of the technology in place, it's actually harder to, once you have a working thing, it's harder to upgrade to the latest technology because it's not worth the investment to add the thing. So, to come back into the game and, kind of go for a quick example here, right? It's like if we're in Pennsylvania, right? And we have the coal mines. Let's say we have the atmospheric engine pump. If we already have an industry with an atmospheric engine pump, right, it, from a capitalist perspective, can be not worth it for us to switch to condensing engine pump because we already have the technology available. And so Great Britain, very interestingly, because they were the first person to come out, they would get their atmospheric engine pump, and then they developed the new technology for something like a condensing engine pump, let's say, and then other countries were the ones who implemented this because there was their first implementation. So upgrading a PM can be something that is it's free in Victoria 3. It shouldn't be free, and this also led to cycles of a sort of this is why Great Britain in the later part of the 18th century, or sorry, the 19th century, lagged behind, is because they had everything on atmospheric engine pump and everyone else was on condensing engine pump. Their industries became much less efficient because there was not the same sort of they didn't have the same sort of incentive to implement the latest and greatest technology because they weren't starting from scratch. If you're starting from scratch, you put in the latest and greatest. And so this is, for example, something that would create a little bit of a bust cycle. Let's say if you had to pay a cost to transition between PMs and it wasn't worth paying the cost, but if you build a brand new building, you just get to build the new thing. If there was a differentiation between these two things, that would be interesting. But it's not currently in the game right now. So, boom bust cycles, and then maybe making PM swapping cost something. This. So this is something that would have happened in Great Britain and would have made a lot more sense. So we'll send that one away. The comment. Okay. Have you ever played multiplayer? Yes. And if not, would you like to? I have. But it's harder to make content from. Or from, at least with what I'm doing, which is mainly talking through the mechanics of the game, and if not, would you like to? I'm probably not looking to play a lot of multiplayer. I'd rather host the 3v3s, probably. Which was, kind of because the 3v3s, the competitive environment kind of cuts into the heart of the game and incentivizes you to find the most optimal strategies, which is kind of what I'm interested in anyways. Just unpacking and trying to figure out how the Victoria 3 system works, or figuring out how any system works, is really interesting to me. And so what I think the 3v3v3s does is it provides an opportunity for that, and this interests me a lot more than what I think the common multiplayer experience is, which is just everyone kind of RPing together. That is less interesting to me in a general sense. And so, okay. This, of course, is I Loved Your Putin Roast charity stream. Of course, he makes it look like we're saying corn roast, but this is referring to the Putin roast. Was it Slavo Ukraina? Ukraina. I don't even know how to spell that, my guys. We're going to be back with the correct spelling. Okay, so we're back with the correct spelling, but just to unpack a little bit what this was about, is we did a 12-hour stream where we spent every hour on the hour, we roasted Putin, and we were raising money for Project Hope for Ukraine. It was like a 12-hour stream. It was pretty nice. We raised about $2,000, which I was extremely excited for. That was way more than I thought we were going to be able to raise. This is an issue I think is important, and just very clearly an example of something that is very important. We might do another one sometime soon. I've been thinking of one. There's a couple books I want to read on specifically what's going on with the Uyghurs, and I was thinking of doing one on June 3rd, because that's the funniest date to do it on, because nothing happened on June 3rd, and so that would be 25 years ago. So that would be a maybe something that we end up doing, but yeah, we did a pretty big charity stream for Ukraine. You can, if you wanted to look at it, it's in, if you go onto my channel and you go through into the live page, it will be, the VOD will be there. I think it's not monetized though, because too much talking about Ukraine and conflict and war makes it so that the videos get demonetized. Like this one might, just based on what we're saying, or this type of thing, or it gets deprioritized, basically generating no ad revenue. But that's okay. That's not what it was about. Okay, I remember seeing your videos a few months ago when Local Prices Update came out. Thank you so much. Love your videos. Glad you enjoy. Maybe we need to copy-paste Big Nice. I think we have The Truth Hurts copied. No, we don't, because we copied Slava Ukraina. Okay, outside of things coming in the next update, what do you think is the part of the game that needs to be addressed most? New Africa run when? Diplo Plays are awful. Diplo Plays really need a rework. They are just, there's so many things wrong with them. This is the one thing that I've thought about making like a critical video of the game, if people would be interested in that, because I think that the diplomatic play mechanic is just really, really, really terrible. I think it's really unfun to new players. They have improved it dramatically by making them a lot more transparent. This is definitely a huge step in the right direction, and I like the idea of a diplomatic play, the idea that we are jockeying for position before the first bullet is fired, with the Europeans negotiating amongst themselves and the unrecognized powers being like, oh no, this is terrible. Something like this, I think that this is an interesting mechanic in theory, but in practice, what it is like just a timer before you can actually declare a war, where a whole bunch of nonsense happens, and it's like you should be able to negotiate in the Diplo play, and instead the Diplo play is just this period of like what it feels like RNG dice rolling, where a bunch of things can happen, and there's no skill or diplomacy involved. You can't diplomatically do stuff ahead of time very easily, except in ways that feels gimmicky, like if I join UK's war, then they can't side against me, and so I'll just artificially join their war where they might not even want my help, so they can't join against me or get an obligation some way, and so Diplo plays are pretty awful, and so I would love to see them improved. Navy's also pretty bad. Navy is kind of unfun to play the game of, if you're trying to play really optimally, playing the game of whack-a-mole to chase down all the people raiding your convoys is not particularly fun. And also, when you are landing in a spot, it can take like several years to actually get a landing through, because the enemy has, if the enemy is a coalition, if there's like 5 or 6 different opponents you're facing and they each have a navy, they will each have like a 5 stack or a 10 stack, and you can be trying to land with a 200 stack navy versus a total of like 40 enemy ships, and they just gum you up for several years because each one of those 5 stacks has 3 admirals, and this requires you to fight, if it's 8 5 stacks, or let's call it 4 4 stacks, right? 4 3 stacks, some number of some stacks. If you have to defeat 4 different nations, 3 stacked navies, and they can have multiple navies, then this means you have to win 12 battles. This takes forever to do. It's really doesn't feel like a good simulation. If you have overwhelming superiority, you should just be able to force the landing through without having to do all the battles. But currently you have to do all the battles, and it's frustrating. Also, sometimes the AI just like sends the ships back out immediately, and that's like bugged sometimes. And then also they will very often have multiple stacks, and so like landing the UK, for example, when they have 8 different navies, each with 3 admirals, means that often you have to just churn through 24 battles to land, even if you have a way bigger navy, and it's not fun. Having multiple admirals helps you with this, but the game incentivizes you to have only 1 admiral per navy, because if you have 2 admirals in a 20 stack navy, they could each only bring 10 ships to each battle. As opposed to if you had 1, they'd bring 20 ships, so this also needs a rework, and so a lot of the navy stuff is just psychotic and is ideal all-around government setup. This is kind of a broad question. Generally speaking, liberal is good. Generally, liberal is good, and voting and high legitimacy is good. State religion and atheism might be meta now, because you can migrate through it. But this is just kind of a general sort of thing. I'm assuming he's talking about government principles and not the economic stuff. But it is interesting that state religion and atheism might be meta. Atheism is like anti-meta from a perspective of actually playing the game, though, because it causes lag. But causes lag. This is important to note. Anytime you fragment the pops more, it will cause lag, and atheism will not necessarily, it won't double the amount of pop groups, entities, but it will increase it by a whole bunch in a way that you would rather not, even though if you don't have a really good, what it would come down to is your devouts group give a really, really good bonus? And if the answer is no, atheism would be good, because currently, we jump back into game real quick. Currently, if we take a look here, and we take a look at the Intelligentsia's bonus, the Intelligentsia give a really good bonus. They give 50% migration attraction. I think in the world where it's a winner-take-all, really, really top-heavy towards mass migrations, this bonus is incredibly good. And so you have to have a really, really good devout bonus for wanting to forego the opportunity to get a 20% plus on your Intelligentsia, which you could get with state atheism pretty good. Work ethic is decent. 10% company throughput bonus, if we get these guys doubled, is reasonable. And you could also go, you could go the whole shebang, right? If there is a way, and also in some scenarios, maybe you want to go monarchy, or sorry, theocracy, a combination of theocracy for the devout, multiculturalism still, state religion, and what is it? Where's the last one? Religious schools. And get this bonus above, to get a 10% company throughput bonus, for example. I think the company throughput bonus is probably the second best bonus behind the one you get if you're China, which is the religion bonus or the devout bonus. Do we get to take a look at them? I believe that they get the minus 50% radicals from standard of living decreases. Although, was noticing something interesting. So a really, really strong play pattern now is the abdication mechanic, which is super overtuned. It might be the case here that you actually want to generate radicals so that you could resign from office to laws more often and have this give you be able to like insta-pass laws through this, and this is a bit of an interesting kind of interaction that is possible. Free Tibet, shout out to Free Tibet, he came to America to be free. The leader of our country is from Tibet, or is Tibetan. Okay, Galupa, I don't know if I've heard of that one before. But okay, so that's kind of where we're going with that. But I do think the religion and atheism, this is interesting. We haven't gotten to test this out as much. I do think it could be really cool. I think the worst religion is well, Jesus, that's from a mechanics perspective. I think the religion that is going to be the most suboptimal is going to be Muslim, probably, because in addition to I think that their taboos are particularly bad for you because it forces you to consume a bunch of tobacco. Maybe it's not that bad. Maybe tobacco's not as bad as I think it is. But beyond that, I think the extra conversion is kind of meh. So, yeah. But yeah, we'll put that in as our answer. Will you play Krakow once Spheres of Influence comes out and spread the glory of Poland? Almost certainly. The new subject interactions are going to be interesting. I think we're going to do a lot of runs playing as subjects at the start, and I think that we are going to probably try and do American territories, Krakow, and also playing as a British subject, and so that'll be a lot. How will 1.7 change the meta? That is a video topic. That is a really long sort of question, but I think it will. Building in other people's countries is going to be absolutely wild, and the power block bonuses are going to shape a lot, and we don't know the power block bonuses yet. So it's hard to comment on them. But blasting rice and wood in other countries is probably pretty good. And then beyond that, it's important to emphasize that building in your own country is going to be good, but when you acquire a bunch of capitalists, we're also going to see absolutely enormous standards of living. We're also going to see huge standards of living. And the reason for this is capitalists are going to have a really high standard of living. If you are disproportionately having more and more capitalists in your country, then you can get a ton of migration. And so it's going to see, we're going to see really, really, really high vacuum effects from intermarket migration. Because when we have all capitalists in the state, we can just push 40 SOL, right? And then if we have 40 SOL, then this means anyone in our customs union with whom we can siphon off migrants from is really going to struggle to resist that. And so that'll create an interesting kind of scenario. Like, we could just end up hoovering up all the Englishmen, like out of the East India Company, playing as Great Britain, for example, because they allow the Englishmen to migrate, and then once they're all gone, they're not going to have any qualifications there anyways, and so they won't be able to build their own ownership anyways, and so they'll just get absolutely wrecked, which, you know, sounds like a piece of history. The truth hurts. And so this is going to be, there's going to be a lot going on here. But it's going to be, that's kind of like an entire topic for a video, you know, because we could talk about it for so much. Okay, I checked the title thinking, that's exactly what a generalist does. Come and find out, ha ha ha. Longtime lurker of the YouTube, love your content. You're like the main voice, main guy for Victoria 3 videos. The truth hurts, like what Ludi is for EU. Man, the truth really hurts. Okay, so, we'll just give him the big nice. What's your favorite part of Victoria 3? We'll have a little bit of a think on this one. Okay, so added a little bit of clarification here. We don't really make cooking videos, it's just a meme. We do lift and read a lot though. We have another channel, Generalist Strength, and also Generalist Ideas. Just for a frame of reference, I've read over 500 books, like not including children's books that I read when I was a child. And then I've also, although I don't have book reviews for 500 books or anywhere near, I think I have like 100 maybe up there. But then also we lift a lot and are relatively strong. Best lift is squat, which is 675, that's pretty good. Okay, so what's your favorite part of Victoria 3? We said the economic system has a lot of depth. And favorite part is exploring and trying to theory craft what is optimal and just understand the game better. For me, this has always been, the theory crafting element has always been a lot of fun. I played a lot of Magic the Gathering several years ago, and my favorite part was just the deck building more so than the actual execution of the deck, and often trying to do something that was not quite meta, and generally I will try and do this. Anything that's subversive towards meta, it attracts me quite a lot, and generally I will often do things not really the proper way that they should be done. However, Victoria 3 is an important exception because to some extent, and this doesn't sound like the most humble, but I'm just trying to explain it as I understand it. To some extent, I think I'm the one who's kind of at the forefront of like defining what the meta is, and so I can't really undermine or subvert the meta if I am one of the ones releasing a lot of the content on what is going to be optimal in the game and this sort of thing. And so there's not really the same opportunity for me to do that in Victoria 3, which is a little bit of a shame. I mean, maybe if there's someone else putting out videos that just like strongly disagree with like how I understand the game, I guess maybe I'd be interested in talking to them or like seeing what they're saying or like this type of thing. But as far as I understand, there's no opportunity to like undermine the meta or trying to find offbeat ways of doing things, like there is in like Magic the Gathering, or there was when I was playing it. Played a lot of Modern, and so we will not have the same thing, but at the same time, just kind of being out there and exploring stuff is super interesting. Very often when I'm making videos, I want to confirm what it is I'm going to say before I say it, and then I actually don't have a place to go to confirm it. Like sometimes I ask my Discord, often I'll go to like the subreddit and just be like, this is what I think, am I wrong? Or not the subreddit, the Discord for the game. And this is something that's both frustrating and very interesting is a lot of times there's no information on what I'm putting a video out on about, so I can't confirm whether or not I'm right about something. And so that means I have to like really try and think it through, and sometimes there's a lot of moving parts and I'm really unsure, and it's maybe a bit of an interesting thing when making videos that this is what's going on, because it's, or like there's actually, I in terms of my personal experience, I don't think there's been another time where I'm trying to make some sort of presentation on information and I can't find the information, and I'm going to be like the first one presenting this sort of idea, and it's weird, but it is what it is. So what's the full 25 what's that, like full 25 playthroughs with the lag now? I think I've only completed like 5 playthroughs. And then I have no idea how many partial runs I've done. Maybe 50. I don't really know. This would be left up to the counting. We also like sometimes practice a start and we'll just redo a start several times. Like I've done the China start and the Japan start each about each more than a half dozen times. And so do we count those as a run? I don't know. Okay. What's your theory on why your audience loves Japan games so much? Because they love one thing. And it's here, let's make it okay for the YouTube. I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to curse on this subreddit. We don't usually curse, but they do love one thing, and it's F in Japan content. Big nice. This is, of course, circular and not answering his question, but it is what it is. The truth does hurt. So where's your Victorian cooking? In the garbage. Have you ever seen Poland pop up? I don't think I have. I'm trying to think. I don't think we've ever seen Poland pop up with kind of how the Krakow things. Obviously, we've released Poland a ton, and we've seen it happen this way. We've also formed Poland back before they had a bunch of the original content we played as Krakow, back when Krakow seemed like an absolute nightmare start. It might even be harder now because the game was easier back then, back in like 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, sometime around there. We did a Krakow run, but I don't think I've seen Poland otherwise normally. How many are those hours, give or take, we're actually playing the game as opposed to having in the menu looking at spreadsheets while it's in the background? Pretty high number, actually. But making videos isn't the same. Making the videos isn't the same as playing. Like, you're thinking through the ideas a lot harder when you're making the videos, and so to some extent it's going to make you better, but at the same time, like right now we're making a video. We have this on in the background. There's probably over 1,000 hours of Victoria 3 content I have on the internet, because, well, actually no, there's probably not 1,000 hours. There's probably like 700 or 800 hours, something like this. But most of the time I am also simultaneously editing as I go, so it's a little bit difficult to. This is kind of a hard or weird question to answer. I think through the game a lot harder. And playing is kind of tiring, because we're trying to think through what's optimal a whole lot more than just kind of vibing and chilling. The streams are a lot more chill than when I'm kind of playing solo and this type of thing, I think, generally speaking, because the streams I'm just forced to commit more errors as a result of trying to keep things going and talk to the audience and this type of thing. But then, like, maybe the stream hours don't count for as much because we're talking at the same time. Stream hours. Maybe not focusing. So, this is kind of the answer to the question. American territory run when? Probably in 1.7. We vote for a ton of subjects. So probably going to, if they reworked Australia, maybe Australia, but like maybe we do something with Canada, maybe we do EIC, maybe we do Krakow, maybe we do American territories. And so we're probably going to take a look at a ton of subject options repeatedly because there are new subject interactions, and you could specifically reduce autonomy without fighting now, we think. And so this opens up new avenues, and I think that the achievement is much more achievable in 1.7. Is probably a lot easier. Because you can reduce yourself to just being a protectorate as the American territories, and once you do that, you can fight Texas. So you need to only reroll for an independent Texas, maybe, and then fight your way out through Texas, and then just kind of eco up as the American territories in a way that is kind of normal. You go for South Africa, these types of things, and so this is probably, I'm not going to do it before then. I mean, on every single patch, I've done at least, like, 3 American territory starts in some spots, generally on stream when we're just practicing. Yeah. How do you use balanced administration? Because it's near impossible for me to make enough money to buy all that paper. Wait, what? I'm not even sure. I'm not sure I understand the question. unless you're trying to fulfill tax capacity as Japan or Qing. Don't do that. We don't want to try and fulfill the tax capacity as Japan or Qing. Not going to be something we like doing. Definitely not. Your tutorials have made such a huge difference in your game. You've made the game more accessible. Thanks for all the help. You're welcome. What's the best mod to use? I like Divergences. But I don't like that it has no unique companies. Currently, kind of enjoying Better Politics quite a lot. I need to play more with it to have a strong opinion. But we're also enjoying the more unique companies mod. We have a run going right now where we're playing with that, and I think it's pretty neat. Not the USA run. How do you cook as Krakow? You light the stove. Then you eat the rich. Delicious. You don't cook them, you just eat them. The stove is the red herring. Okay. Do you think this game adapts dialectics, diamat? I'm not sure. I don't know if this is a short thing in English well into its mechanics. Dialectics? You mean Marxism? You mean dialectical materialism? I had to write about dialectical materialism for my major, so I should know how to spell it. But I'm a philosophy major. I was a philosophy major. One of the most important words to know how to spell in all of philosophy is the word necessary. I could not for the life of me spell necessary and misspelled it so many times on in-class essays. It was really, really, really bad. I'm a terrible speller. But I do think that dialectical materialism kind of informs some of the underlying in-game mechanics. Thank you for trying out Better Politics mod. Do you have any feedback from the standpoint of playing optimally? I think you mentioned earlier that the military IG corruption debuff was an issue. Did that remain a major hindrance later? Our mod team doesn't tend to play the game or optimally or aggressively, so it's a bit of a blind spot. Also, we have a pretty huge update coming in a week or two, and we hope you try that out as well. Well, I am enjoying the mod. I think that my learning curve on the mod is... I think my sample size is too small. Is too small to give critical feedback that I'd be confident in. Which means that nothing is, like, obviously terrible. Although that one debuff is pretty raw. I forget what it was, though. I just remember it was being really, really... I remember it being really, really bad. But it's so interesting to hear from the people who like are making the mods that they're excited that I'm trying the mod out, which is just very surreal. Like, the entire content creation making stuff is a little surreal. Like, I started making videos like several years ago, but it was only like a year and a half ago when I started the gaming YouTube, and the gaming YouTube's the only one that's ever popped off, and the other YouTubes and stuff is just kind of like screaming into the void, and it was always just trying to make videos and do this sort of thing to force me to think through things, and refine my practice and be more accountable and this sort of thing, more than like actually necessarily trying to get traction. This was the first one to get traction, and it's always very interesting for me to hear from people, and like thank me for trying out their mod, because this is not like it's indicative of the fact that they know who I am before like I've tried out their thing and they've been wanting me to like maybe play their mod, and it's just like this surreal experience that someone is like thanking me for playing their mod, or occasionally it's happened a few times that game developers ask me to try out their game, and it's just, from my perspective, this is not something that I'm used to, and it's always very interesting to me when this happens. I mean, I think I understand it in terms of like looking on YouTube, who are the creators for Victoria 3. It's kind of an empty space. My videos do not get the absolute most views, but I think in the aggregate I am probably have the most views per month for Victoria 3 because I release more videos. And so just the hyper regulars, that's you guys, watching a lot of the Victoria 3 content will watch a lot of my content. I think that a bunch of the bigger Paradox content creators will definitely get much higher view counts in general on their videos for Victoria 3 though than I do. But that's kind of like a separate sort of discussion. But yeah, I don't feel confident giving feedback in regards to balance. I don't have a big enough sample size on the mod. Will you ever get the all the achievements? Probably not. The achievements stopped feeling like a representation of skill. Skill in a public sphere, because all of my play is so public. Or because I have so much public play. That people can judge my skill for. If my play is not very good, there's no way I could hide that behind having all of the achievements. And even if my play was extremely good, or like, and then if my play is good, then the fact that I don't have all the achievements, people won't achievement shame me. Except someone's going to achievement shame me in the comments now that I said that, but you get the general idea. It's like, before, achievements kind of feel like some sort of understanding of how good I am at the game, but now they're just kind of irrelevant, or they feel irrelevant to me, on the and you guys generally don't vote for achievement runs, or you haven't in the past, and so I tend to resolve what I'm going to do based on what you guys vote for, and if you're not voting for achievement runs, then kind of, who cares to some extent. Actually, you know what? Actually, not finishing the tutorial is a meme, so we'll never get that one. Yeah, even if I were to get all the achievements, I would leave the tutorial one not finished. Apparently that one's actually kind of hard to get because you have to sequence things properly, and it's actually frustrating, and you have to get to the end. Does the OST get excruciating to listen to over and over again? We're listening to it right now, baby. Nope. My brain filters it out. Regulars or mobilize? Yes. Porque no los dos, my guy. Although really starting to think that the conscription army, just to shake people down, is really strong. We have done that throughout this USA run here, and I could show you the final form of the Florida Men. Spoilers. It's over 5,000 conscripts, and I mean, we can make it even bigger right now, except the game's gonna lag if we do that. The game's like pretty laggy here, but I think that having a small standing army for the purposes of having a standing army is going to be useful for the purposes of resolving the small wars, but I think increasingly that, or I'm increasingly thinking, mainly off the back of this USA run, that national militia is probably meta, and if you are doing this, then this means that you will want some sort of situation where you will want to be able to actively mobilize a huge army if you need to, and then kind of have a bit of a more lean army with which to execute a lot of your wars that you will not be fighting against GPs. And then against GPs, you bring in the militia. And so this will be... I know there's some bonuses, but I think that the bonuses, until they change... there's some bonuses... Sorry. There's some bonuses that you get for like being on professional army versus peasant levies, but I don't think they outweigh just how powerful being able to represent an enormous army from the perspective of swaying is, with the peasant, or not the peasant levies, but the national militia. Being able to represent that huge army is really, really, really strong, and then you don't have to pay for it. And so I don't know how they resolve it, because it also used to be the case that people would think the USA was incredibly weak. They used to have it so that the unraised militia did not contribute anything to that calculation, and then the USA would back down from every play because it thought it was super weak because it had an entirely militia army. And so I don't know what the resolution is, but I do think national militia is probably meta. And I think that's probably what his question is. Okay, next up. First of all, great tutorials. I'm really new to the game. First playthrough lost in 1844 to a rev. That always hurts. There was one patch where I forget what it was, like 13 point something, and AI GPs would be super aggressive anytime you revved and siding against you. It was really obnoxious, and it felt super bad, but maybe it made a lot of sense, and that was always a really struggle, and it made revolutions in 1.3 absolutely terrifying in a way that they're not really anymore. Second had barely 17 million GDP by 1906. To be fair, I was playing Romania both times. A very bad idea coming from me. Yeah, if you're new to the game, just play like someone who's big. Third one, thankfully I discovered you and tried to decide to follow your USA run. Big dice. Going pretty well, to be honest, although my GDP is lagging behind yours. There's so much stuff. Just to be clear, if you're comparing yourself to me, there's so much stuff I'm doing like off screen on my runs to like optimize, and Victoria 3 is a game of like snowballing. We've said this in a couple spots kind of recently, but like you accumulate an advantage, and then that advantage is going to have compounding interest. So you get an additional building, and that additional building allows you to generate a little bit more revenue and to add another construction sector a little bit faster. And that additional construction sector allows you to build more buildings. And so it's not the case that you're just like, growth isn't, factors that lead to growth aren't linear, they're exponential. And so missing out on a tiny little thing because let's say you built like you didn't build enough wood and instead you built a lot of furniture manufactories, this is going to compound as the game goes on, because it's going to be you have a smaller investment pool, and that smaller investment pool means you can build less construction sectors earlier, and that less construction sectors mean you're going to have fewer buildings, and then like the fewer buildings that you have are going to mean less investment pool and this sort of thing. So it's really hard to stay up on things. As I only have 190 million by 1875, that still sounds pretty good, and I don't have Beijing because the opium wars didn't happen. You could always I do, however, have the Dutch East Indies, which I got for free. Big nice. I've built a lot of industry, so I don't really know why I'm so far behind, as I have 2k construction, 25k wood, 30k coal, 25k iron, tools, etc., etc., and I have economy scale maxed out on many prices. Any idea what it could be? I mean, it's going to be a combination of pops and employment. It's too hard to diagnose like this. It could be not enough demand. But I think that you should try and enjoy the game. Enjoy the run, more so than comparing to me. Because I'm doing a lot of really small things that snowball. Also, we have different RNG. For example, the USA run would have been so much stronger if Heavenly Kingdom spawned. It would have been so much stronger than our run because there would have been so much migration attraction potential if Heavenly Kingdom spawns, because Heavenly Kingdom has open borders and would have allowed just a disgusting amount of pops that really blast up things. I might have a bigger customs union here. Which customs unions do a lot of things, but one of the things is they're creating a lot of buy and sell orders in a way that's beneficial for you. Another thing is that you can siphon off a lot of pops, both pops and demand. Because if you are going to have higher prices or lower prices, overall in your economy, higher prices are going to be better for the economy. But I hope that that helps to some extent. But it's not going to be a complete answer. What's your economic, social, and political opinion on the Paraguayan dragon fruit industry? I have no idea. Stonks. Okay. How often does the game crash? Almost never. It just slows down. Reminds me of like a line from the like there was a movie on what's it called, on the stock market crash, where they use the metaphor of the fat lady stopping singing, and it's, well, the music hasn't stopped, it's just slowed down. But yeah, the game just slows down. It doesn't crash, but it gets really slow. Hey Generalist, great fan here. How do you know you're great? This is like calling yourself a good boy. Your economic modeling via spreadsheet is incredible. What kind of professional background do you have? Well, I was a philosophy student. And after that, I taught chess to kids. And then now I'm doing this. But I did also read a ton of books, and was trying to... I wrote a book as well, and I never got it published, so there's kind of a lot going on here, but we're going to try and give him a bit of a succinct answer. So, I was a philosophy student and taught chess to kids, then I tried to write, wrote a book, couldn't get it published. I've also read a lot. And I've read a lot in the sphere, which is relevant to Victoria 3, the economics, philosophy, and psychology. And now I make videos for the game. Although, to be honest, had I known that Sphere of Influence was gonna get delayed so much, I decided to that I could probably try and do this full time in December because I had money saved up to allow me to try and run this experiment. And then that was contingent on Sphere of Influence getting released in March, and now it's gotten pushed back to June, which is quite painful. But my fallback is being a personal trainer. And this is something that, just by looking at me, obviously I'm really overweight, and I think most people would not get this impression, but I'm quite strong, physically speaking, and I do know quite a bit about strength training and this type of stuff, and so that would be my fallback, but it also, I actually interviewed for it, and then they were interested in me, but then I wanted an hourly that they were not willing to pay, and I was maybe a little bit abrasive as well, so I think that probably made them less interested after I was kind of coming into conflict over the pay. But I think that yeah, this is the career path tangent is a bit of a long one, so we won't get into it too much. But this is kind of where my background is coming from, as well as what this is still in the cards. Honestly, if Sphere of Influence is kind of a flop, then we'll probably switch gears to this sort of thing. I think. Sag probably have to take the pay grade that they were offering that I was kind of rejecting. Okay, I feel that naval combat is really lacking in the game and did not receive love with the combat overhaul. Do you feel like this? Do you like the state of naval warfare? No. It's probably number 2 on my list of things I've changed. I don't, the fixes would take a long time to type out, to be honest, and we typed them out on a different comment a little bit, or we talked about them here, but, the naval combat is uninteresting, it's tedious, and it, like, doesn't work very well for landings, but the two big problems, we'll just say the two big problems again for this gentleman here. Big problems are this. Actually, I'll type it out and then we'll be back for the video. Alright, so we have our two main points, which is if you have an overwhelming, and we talked about this earlier in the video, but if you have an overwhelming force, you can't land because you need to defeat every single admiral that's preventing you from landing. Even if the admiral is leading one boat, if there's 4 admirals leading one boat, you have to defeat every single one of these admirals in a battle, and this battle takes time and it takes forever, and then convoy raiding is strong, and the whack-a-mole gameplay surrounding dealing with convoy raiding is unfun, and it is also not in the spirit of what they've outlined for the military. That they kind of have for Victoria 3, which I'm a fan of the hands-off military sort of thing, but the military is actually anything but hands-off. Also, well, we'll add this, and we haven't talked about it, also, optimal fighting relies on abusive landing. And this, abusing the landing is just not obsessive. We can't spell at all. It's really reliant on abusive landings, which is also just tedious. And so the Navy systems, I think, leave a lot to be desired, to be honest. And this is independent of, like, not even taking into consideration there should be ships should be entities. Like the system that they have currently for ships is that that's a good, and the good, no matter how much warfare you've engaged in, you always need the same constant supply of ships, and that doesn't make any sense. You know, if you got a bunch of ships sunk, that should be absolutely devastating, and it should take you forever to recover your navy. And then also, if you've already built up a really large navy, like, ships should be an investment. It's like a thing. It should almost be like a building, but it's not. It's just like a good that you need, and it doesn't function in a way that it requires a lot of suspension of well, I mean, it uses the game system, which just doesn't make sense as a good, because it's not being consumed as a good, because you'll keep sailing around the same ship for decades if it's still seaworthy. And so, not that I know a lot about Navy, but that just that also seems like a bit of a thing. Why are you so handsome? This is truly the question, best question here. Obviously, it's because I'm good at the game. This is it. But thank you. Big nice. We'll throw in a big nice. Thank you, Junski? Is that a picture of the cat? We do love the cat pics. Anything from Vic 2 you want to see returning? I have 60 hours. Vic 2? So effectively, I've never played it. Also, those 60 hours are without any DLC, so, which I imagine is a big part of the experience. Why? True. This is the real one. Oh, he's asking why play so much. Oh, why so many hours? Oh, you mean why so many? I may have underreported my making videos for the game. Would you say I understand? Would you say you understand the game now? Yeah, probably. I'll still get things wrong, though. Also, the game is a living thing. Updates destroy understanding. It's not like I can just read through the patch notes and now know what's going to be best. And also, we're getting like new revelations too. Like for example, the revelation that with kind of some new systems that came in 1.5 something, where we are going national militia now. This was kind of a relatively new revelation because I didn't realize that they really just terrified by the conscripts to this extent. This combined with the yo-yo sway like ability really makes national militia best. And so we are discovering new things. And so we are discovering new things. Like national militia being OP. And one thing that's hard is, like, it can be very hard to get a really robust sample size on something if you evaluate it to be bad and then you stop using it. And so that's why occasionally we like to go back and try things we've tried before and just evaluate it as being terrible. Yeah, the national militia, the oblique angle of just being able to threaten people with your potential army is one that I hadn't considered enough, and it was really in the USA run where just we got absolutely disgusting reverse sways that it really became obvious that national militia is probably a lot better than I'd given it credit for. But notably, it's going to be way better on the USA specifically. Like France going national militia is not going to be as good as the USA having it. The USA will tend to get a lot of pops, and the number of pops you have is a huge driver of why national militia is so good. Do you actually enjoy building over and over and over again? Line go up. But there is also like a secondary line, meta line here, right? Which is that I'm making videos for the game. And I'm trying to make the YouTube line go up. So there's like two things, but yeah, the game does have. I think if you solve how to play one country, you've solved how to play other countries, and so there isn't a lot of differentiation between countries. So it's just that's not where the interesting thing is. But the systems have enough depth that being able to discover new things is still really interesting, and also think through things. And so really excited for 1.7 because then I get to sink my teeth into a whole new variety of mechanics and trying to figure out what's going to be best in those. So yeah, what do you do in your free time? I don't have much free time. I mean, I play the game. I don't really play the game in my free time relative to this, but, like, I work out and read. I also probably spend too much time doom scrolling. Time then... scrolling through either Insta or YouTube. I hate to admit it, this is actually something that I'm currently trying to work on, but I spend more time on like scrolling and not really actively engaged in things that I think that interest me or I value, and so I'd like to move away from that. But I also, I mean, right now I'm spending, in terms of working out, we're spending over 10 hours a week at the gym or going to the gym. And, you know, we also do meal prep and we read, and we're making videos, we're making notes for videos. This is kind of a lot of what I'm doing right now, but yeah, I definitely would like to be reading a lot more than I am specifically. But this is kind of what, we don't socialize very much. Social life is very low. Yeah, misanthropy abound. Alright, it's more complicated than that, but yeah, not very social. just in general. I generally find being with people exhausting, even though I'm fairly like outgoing and could talk and like do this type of stuff. It's not like a function of what is it? I have no problem talking in front of an audience. I can do presentations just fine in front of like an audience. Like it doesn't faze me in the slightest. But it's like just really tiring to me being around other people. Okay, how to get Egypt started? I can't manage it. The only place that has iron has so little pop, and the Ottomans hate me. Yeah, Egypt's a bit harder. I'd go for South Africa and look to do weird Diplo things versus Ottomans. It's been a while. It's been a while since we played Egypt. Played them, but declaring on them before they declare on you was good. Specifically in a strategic region that was good for getting people to side for you. To side with you, Russia and Austria. Let's capitalize it. But not against you. So when I did it, declaring wars on them in Anatolia, when Great Britain and France used to like to side against you a lot, was really, really important. Because if you declare the war in Anatolia, Great Britain and France didn't have strategic interests in those regions, and it made a huge difference. Just to kind of come back into the game real quick. I can show you what I mean, which, like, if we were playing as Egypt, shout out to Egypt in this one, the strategic region really mattered. When they declared war on you, it was always in the Arabia strategic region. That means all the people in here can join or get involved in the war. What you could do is you could just declare for something like Adana, and you could do it in the Anatolia strategic region, or even like open their market or something like this. And very often Great Britain would not have an interest here, and nor would France, but Austria and Russia would, and Austria and Russia generally are aggressive towards the Ottomans, and so this would give you better opportunities to have better wars where you would not have France, that's France, or like someone like France or Prussia, who maybe has a rivalry with Austria, would not have an opportunity to side against Austria in a particular play. And so this would be maybe something that you could do for the Egypt run. But yeah, the resources are rough. But yeah, for resources. Yeah, they will deck you though, as far as I know. But Egypt is a little bit tough. Oh my God, it's the guy from YouTube and Twitch. Where? Norway. All right. It's not a question though. Sweden. Got it. Got it. This is every time we always get a Norway request. I let the neighbor's kid see one of your spreadsheets. How after they scarred for life. Might as well put him down. The truth hurts. Sometimes you can't save them. It's better to start over. Okay, not a question, but I just want to say Thist. I love your videos. Thist. Big nice. Thank you. Before the DLC for fun, do a world conquest using the Paraguay Turtle Island exploit. We might show it off as France a little. But it's better if you start as France. Paraguay not required. In theory, if you're trying to max GDP as much as possible, starting as Qing is even better. What's your favorite color? Purple. I just like looked over to check that I was still recording, because if I wasn't recording, oh my god, we've gone through a lot. I've read cooking videos and I nearly knew who made the post. Yup. Yup. Definitely, the making of cooking videos is definitely a meme. On all of my videos, or on all of my YouTube polls, I try to introduce an option that is like a bit of a joke option for a couple of reasons. One, it gives the opportunity for people who don't have an opinion on the thing to still engage in the poll. So, for example, one of the options is often like cooking video, or I chose this option because I don't know how to read. But also, it lets me know how much people care about the issue, because if people really, really care about the issue, the joke answer will generally have very little votes. And if people don't care about the issue at all, then, or what the people are voting on, then the joke answer will have a lot of votes. So it actually lets me know the intensity to which people care about a particular thing. So sometimes if the joke answer has a lot, and then one thing clearly won the poll, I might just go with the other thing anyways, because I get the feeling that people don't care because they voted for the joke option, which is kind of a way of just throwing away your vote in a way that maybe you find amusing, maybe you don't. Hey, Generalist, love your video, recent vids, man. The recent USA run is wild. Yeah, spoilers. We're showing it off right now. Big nice. 4.3 billion GDP in 1915. Spectacular. It is one of the runs of all time. Reverse swing is a little crazy, specifically with the yo-yo sway mechanic. Definitely a little surprised at how powerful National Militia is appearing throughout this run. General, did you post an AMA that not answer any of your questions? What? We've answered all the questions. We wanted questions to build up, and then make a video. But to be fair, is this against Reddit etiquette? I didn't know you had to answer immediately. We now have a bunch of answers. But I guess maybe it's against Reddit etiquette. The truth hurts. Hey sir, I love your videos. However, sometimes when I want to go back to your video to get a refresher, I just wish there was a summary at the end of your video with key takeaways. There usually is. There usually is on tutorials. There usually is a summary. So, isn't there? I feel like there is more often than there's not. Even on the gameplay videos, I say, this episode we did this. In this episode, we ate France. France ate us. The truth hurts. How the heck do you get to 90% literacy while also having multiculturalism? Multiculturalism is not the problem. If you have a big enough pops, the pops coming in from migration aren't going to dilute it. But the Ericsson company in Svelen is OP if you just want to crank literacy. Gives 10 levels of private education. How do I play an agrarian RP run while still being economically useful? You don't. You play as Ching. You kind of don't, actually. Might be possible in 1.7. As you can create demand for your goods. The problem is construction doesn't eat much. It eats a little bit of fabric, but it doesn't eat much agrarian goods. And that's the most efficient stimulus. What construction bug? Not like this. The construction bug was so annoying for so long, where it would just make the private queue just get maximal percentage control of the queue. Oh my god. Not like this. Probably, what's the best way to help you enable to keep doing what you're doing? I mean, it's a large-scale thing. Like, the game just has to do better. For this to be, like, economically viable for me than it's doing currently, or I have to get... I think one of the things is that a lot of the people who are regularly watching Victoria 3 videos, like, a lot of Victoria 3 videos, I think I've already captured a lot of that market share, or a lot of that market share has at the very least been exposed to me and decided that they don't like me, which is entirely okay. But if that's happened, then my ability to expand is a little bit saturated. And so what's the best way to enable to keep you doing what you're doing? Sharing videos, maybe? Like, donations obviously help economically, but like there's looking to one-to-one keep me afloat is not like a viable strategy. Donos. One-to-one float me is not something that I want on the people who care about if I can keep going. Conscience. And this is kind of just a weird question to answer, like how, because it's definitely an economic, or it's like it's a monetary thing, right? Whether I can keep doing this because I'm trying to do this full time, and I don't want to like ask for money, but it's simultaneously about money, and so it creates this weird thing where I honestly don't even know how to answer this question, like in terms of who is skimming the most, or who's skimming the least. The stream donation I get the most money from. Also, I guess turning off ad blocker or getting YouTube Premium helps your view be more valuable to me, but it's not like I would want someone to keep watching, or it's not like I would want someone to rewatch a video that they already watched and would not find maximally entertaining for their time. I wouldn't want them to do that just to give me a fraction of the cent. It's like it's a huge numbers game. Like big picture. Where more people need to be playing the game or interested in my videos. More so than individual effort. Although, to be fair, particularly liking and sharing increases how much people see. Subscribing, as far as I know, is actually less important, but that's like the metric you use for like judging your progress. But subscriber count's like not actually like as important as how many views a month you're getting, as far as the metric goes. And subscriber count doesn't increase, as far as I know, doesn't increase how much the algorithm recommends you. But something like comment or maybe the time subscribe is clicked on an individual video increases recommendations. I'm not 100% sure, but I do think it's the comments and the shares that really drive a lot. And so that if you wanted to help out sharing the videos, but I wouldn't want you to try and donate to try and like one-to-one somehow float me having this lifestyle where I get to play video games and make videos on it, and like obviously that's a huge privilege. And if I can't earn the privilege by being entertaining enough or finding a large enough niche, then that's like life, and that's how that goes. And so yeah, this is maybe a rabbit hole. Let's not dive further down it. But we do have kind of a bit of a longer answer. Do you accept basic attention token? I do not know what that is. I don't know what that is. Is that like something where like I don't know I don't even know what that is. I'll have to look that up after the video we record this, but that sounds interesting. Basic attention token. What is your favorite movie? We'll need to have a think for what the favorite movie is, so we'll be back. Alright, so for movie, what's your favorite movie? It actually changes over time, and I think this is true for everyone. What your favorite movie is like not something that's set in stone, and it'd be really weird to identify with having one favorite movie for like an extended period of time in your lifetime. So it's a bit of a weird question to answer because I think the question almost asks, what's the essence of your sentiments and tastes, and these change over time. But my answer is probably The Gentleman right now, which is a Guy Ritchie film. I enjoyed that quite a lot, and I just generally like all the movies he puts out, and so that would probably be it right now. Maybe I feel like I'm forgetting something, though. Like, I feel like I'm forgetting something. I enjoyed the first season of The Boys, like, tremendously. Show might be easier to answer, like Westworld and The Boys, really like both of those. Generally, stuff being subversive is interesting to me. Boys. And so, yeah. Okay. As a Vic 2 fan who hasn't been able to get into Vic 3, why? I haven't really played. It's hard to answer. I'm also playing 2 games, though. Vic 3 and YouTube line go up. So there's definitely an essence of 2 games being played here, Mr. Rapid Waffle. So, I feel like I might have engaged in bad Reddit etiquette now. Happy Thursday, General. Big nice. Gene W from YouTube. Oh, big nice. Hey, Gene. Trans fan. Having done a few streams using mods, what's your overall opinion of mods and their place in Paradox Gaming in general? I enjoy them. I'd play with more if I didn't make videos for the game. The balance is definitely different. And I need to have a feel for vanilla in order to make tutorials on vanilla. That's kind of my immediate experience kind of with mods. I definitely played a lot more with mods before I started making content for the game, and if I was not making content for the game, I would almost certainly play more with mods. I think I have more CK3 modded hours than I do regular gameplay hours by like a factor of like 3 or 4. And so like a lot of the Princes of Darkness mod in particular, really enjoyed that kind of setting, the World of Darkness setting, and so I enjoyed the mod. Do they enhance the player experience for users, or are they just filling the gap for content that should have really been in the game from the start? I think that a lot of mods are really poorly balanced. I don't think it's just filling a gap. Because a lot of mods are broken. Depends on the mod, although. I think a lot of things that are missing in Victoria 3 don't get supplied through the mod correctly. You know, the economics and finance mod, I think it was the mod. We tried that out, and like some of the bonuses, I mean, it created a monetary system, but the bonuses it gave were just too absurd. So I don't think it like fixed the issue, and that's kind of I mean, that was a very interesting and cerebral mod, but I think that's like the only mod that I like overall kind of probably had a negative opinion on that I played, just because the bonuses were just too out of touch. Getting a 400% construction bonus or 400% investment pool contribution bonus was just a bit insane, and so it was a little bit of a thing. But also like the vast overhaul mods, obviously those can't be included in vanilla. But there's something to be said for like people feeling like So initially, on release, though, they definitely filled a gap for the UI. The terrible UI. But I don't think I would overall have that opinion now. I mean, maybe I haven't seen a mod that like fixes, for example, the Diplo Play, or fixes the Navy, which I think are the two biggest problems. Can you do a run where you collect as many achievements as possible? If this is what people want. Generally deciding democratically. This is how we're generally deciding the things. One thing that always frustrated me was trying to import enough resources from other countries. Are you supposed to change your methods to create demand for the resource first and then open the trade route? I feel like whenever I would the trade with the other country, they would never give enough. That's because they don't build. 1.7 should fix this, because you can build for them. After Sphere of Influence, what would be your desired DLC changes to the game moving forward? Fix Diplo Play. Fix Diplo Play. Make a cultural mechanic. We've kind of already been through these a little bit. But fix Navy. And then introduce boom bust mechanic in terms of eco. Probably something like that. I don't know. Sometimes it's very often to know what you want until you see it. More companies would be cool too. Having their own HQ, like a, what is it called, financial district. And they would have their own clout. Something like this would be cool. Your mind is just superior to mine. Man, that's... These sentences, I never know how to react to this, because, like, obviously it's complimentary, but I get this in the gym a lot. So, like, in the gym, like, it happens pretty frequently, maybe on average, like, once a gym session, although it'll happen a lot more at the end of my program and a lot less at the start of my program when I'm with lighter weights. But people will come up to me and be like, wow, you're really strong, and it's like, thanks, I don't know how to respond to this. This is a compliment, but it's just, it's like a conversation terminating compliment, right? It's not a compliment that's like sparking some sort of conversation or inviting a particular type of response. It's just, and this is a statement of the kind of, like, I'm not very good at receiving compliments in a general sense. I'm pretty bad about it, so, like, I'm just like, thank you, and it's like, this, yeah. This just makes me think of the gym and someone being like, wow, you're really strong, and then you're just like, it's like awkward because you're just still warming up, and they're like, that's crazy amount of weight, and you're like, I'm warming up, and then you sound like an asshole, and yeah, okay. I try to follow your thoughts, but find myself lost eventually. You are the best. Love the current USA playthrough. Alright, we'll say thank you. We'll say thank you. We'll go on a rant about how it's awkward, how we're bad at responding to compliments, and we just end up saying thank you, and then we'll just say thank you in response to this. Big nice. I think it, but I do think it's, I think that it's less a matter of mind, and more a matter of just hours playing the game. The way that information works is that as you understand something better, you will be able to chunk the information into larger and larger, or more and more complex information will just be a single unit of information to you. And as a human, you can process 7 plus or minus 2 pieces of information. And so what you see is, like, for example, with chess, a chess player, a person who's never played chess, will see 64 squares, and it'll be 64 pieces of information to them. But someone who's a chess master can see a pawn structure that is, 16, where 16 pawns are or aren't on the board, and for them that will be one piece of information, because looking at that pawn structure, it has a certain theme and ideas behind it, and so for them, that'll just be a singular piece of information, which is not the case for new players, which is actually why chess players, really strong chess players, can look at a board and memorize the position in just a few seconds if it is played with a normal game. But if the pieces are randomly assigned or randomly arranged on the board rather than being arrived at through organic play, they actually can't memorize the board better than an average person. An average person performs just as well, and it's only because they can chunk the information better that they can process it so much better. So I have like a ton more information chunking when thinking through Victoria 3 that I'm able to think through it faster, but this is not a result of the mind being superior. It's because I have pattern recognition and I recognize specific patterns or themes faster, or I chunk them into smaller units of information so that my same brain that processes 7 plus or minus 2 units of information just as well as the average person, this can process 7 plus or minus 2 units of information, that just each piece of that information just contains so much more stuff because I have bigger chunks of information and they're more meaningful, in the same way that a complete beginner at chess would have to memorize one pawn on one square as a piece of information, whereas like a chess master, for them, all the 16 pawns, that'll be one piece of information. But yeah, they will get that explanation if they watch this video, I suppose. But I guess they won't if they won't. What are your favorite runs to play the whole 100 years as? None, to be honest. Performance is bad. Someone who starts small, I suppose. Victorian Lakes. Start, maybe. That's the Victorian Lakes, for those of you who don't know, this is probably one of the roughest starts, or certainly, I think, going to be the slowest start over the course of time if you start as one of these countries. It's not necessarily the hardest start, but I think it will be the hardest to have the biggest GDP possible by 1936, barring some use of Turtle Island shenanigans, which I don't even know if you could properly leverage as them, but I think that I would say that that's probably how we think of it. Jesus, you have more hours in Victoria 3 as someone who basically plays it for a living. I kind of do play it for a living. It's not the best living, but we are making money. We are getting that bag. The bag's not as heavy as we'd like, but we do, shout out to you guys. It's your guys' interest in this symbiotic relationship where I provide content or make videos and you guys watch the videos and we're able to do our thing. But yeah, we kind of do it for a living. I don't make cooking tutorials. At least not often. We have the one bagel joke tutorial. You make cooking videos. Not like this. Not like this. Can you recognize any good rub? You know what is interesting? What I like, and might be interesting, having salsa criolla on the steak. We'll have to double check the spelling. I guess we'll also pull up a picture for you guys. All right, so it's got 2 L's, but this is a Peruvian dish, a Peruvian salsa, which is largely going to be quite a few red onions, but also cilantro and a ton of lime juice. Very important to soak the onions beforehand because otherwise, soaking the onions really removes a lot of the, I don't know what to say, acidic or stringent taste. But salsa criolla is a type of sauce or relish found in Latin American cuisine, composed of finely chopped sliced onions, vinegar, tomatoes, garlic, chili peppers, bell peppers, olive oil, pepper, and fresh herbs like parsley or cilantro. Salsa criolla is often associated with Peruvian cuisine, but found in Cuban, Puerto Rican, Nicaraguan, Uruguayan, and Argentinian cuisine. In Peru, salsa criolla is a cold sauce, typically accompanying meat. The base composition is onion, red bell pepper, tomato juice, tomato, lime juice, or vinegar, oil. Other ingredients could be cilantro, green pepper, parsley, etc. And so we're thinking that salsa criolla, I guess we'll put Peruvian. But we do like that quite a lot with steak, on steak, or with chicken. And this might be an interesting angle he hasn't considered because he's asking for a good rub. He probably knows rubs better than us. You probably know rubs better than us. But what I like but it is that but. So maybe that'll give him a little bit of a novel experience. The truth hurts when we get asked cooking videos when we're trolling about cooking. Yeah. Meep Wizardly. Wow, just 14 minutes ago. This is just copium, isn't it? Oh, I think I saw this comment, like, at the top of my thing. Autos are kind of relatively okay. Producing transportation from rails feels terrible. Still don't want to waste high transport due to still don't want high transport costs due to labor-saving PMs. You absolutely do want this. This quote's not mine, or it can't possibly be mine. Each auto reduces transportation demand by 3.3. That does sound more like me. Autos increase transportation production, need less from railways, also reduce engine consumption. They don't reduce engine consumption because you produce less engines, reduce laborers, and reduce total number of workers needed in urban centers. So we'll just do a little bit of one, probably cope. We'll just say cope. I won't even say probably. I think automobiles is really bad. You want high transport cost because you're subbing the industry. Each auto reduces transportation demand by 3.3. This might be true. We're not going to evaluate that because your pops will demand less transportation. As you introduce automobiles, they'll demand less transportation, and I generally think this is bad. You want them to demand the transportation because you want transport to be really expensive, so your subsidy is a lot less, which effectively is you're extracting more money. Also, the pops that pay for transportation are the rich pops. You would prefer the rich pops to be negatively affected by your injections more than the poor pops because this will increase average SOL more. Autos increase transportation need production less and reduce engine consumption. They decrease engine production as well. So I don't know about reduce engine consumption. But okay. Let's answer the second portion of his question. 2. What do you build when all your goods are close enough to their equilibrium price, even considering relatively inefficient, and you've maxed out all your mines? I assume I've maxed out all my wood at this point. Pushing... well, if you're at an equilibrium... this means you're indifferent. So, anything, really. But, maybe whatever has lowest construction cost per employable pop for migration attraction reasons. But yeah, the whole idea of a price equilibrium is at the perfect equilibrium of price, you're actually indifferent to what you build. So that's how you know you're at equilibrium is the feeling of indifference. And so this means you no longer care about profitability, and so something else you could care about is migration. So I hope this answers the question. What got you into strategy games in the first place? Was it a progression from card games somehow? I wouldn't say it's a progression. Not a progression, but I do like MTG. I played chess and was a book nerd. Am a book nerd. And also not the most social. So these things combined, I think, lend to, I think that this lends to strategy games quite a bit. I think this... read a ton about history. And I think if you, like, read a lot about history, you're much more likely to play map games than you are to play, like, an FPS or something like this. And so that's how you get them. That's how you hook the kids. You read them about history. Where do you find the fun in the game after 2,000 hours? Learning how systems interact. But I'm also playing a secondary game. Of YouTube line go up. I do feel a little burnt out, though. Which is why some of the content we're making is more in line with making tutorials and also doing AMAs, right? If I was enjoying the game as maximally as possible playing it, we would probably be doing more gameplay videos than what we're going to be doing now, which is probably a transition to a lot more tutorials and a lot more stuff like this. But I do think it's a good timing for it. I do feel a little burnt out, though. I do not play Victoria 3 unless I'm making content for it at this point. And if my friend group, who I play, like my IRL friend group, who I play games with sometimes, wanted to play Victoria 3, I would be against it. Unless they really, really wanted to play Victoria 3, but then that would just be doing something nice for them. I would not suggest to them for us to play Victoria 3 because, well, also, I'm just way better at than any of my friends would be at Victoria 3 because they've never played, and I obviously have over 2,000 hours. And it's like, it's not fun to me to like dunk on my friends in a game. Like it's I'm aware that I'm better at them at the game. I don't need to execute that. And I don't think it would be fun for them unless they really wanted to learn the game. In which case, I'd be super down. I'd be down for explaining it to my friends, but that would be like more of a favor or a nice thing to do for my friends than like me just like wanting to blast Victoria 3 as much as possible. Yeah, I don't. If I'm playing, I'm making content for the game, or I'm practicing a particular run or this type of thing, and I do feel burnt out on the game a bit. Part of it is that the runs all kind of play very, very similarly, but I do get a lot of enjoyment out of trying to figure out and optimize stuff. Like, we just made the rivers tutorial. I had fun looking at the rivers and trying to figure out which one was best. I was a little surprised that in terms of the way we scored things, I was actually very surprised that the Mississippi did so well, and the Danube and the Mississippi did so well because the arable land count was really a factor, and I don't think of it as having as much arable land as it really does. There's really a ton of arable land all across the Mississippi, and also, that's not on the Mississippi, but here's the Mississippi. I was surprised at how low the arable land counts. Like, I knew the arable land counts in Europe are like not very good, but the arable land is really low on the Rhine, and it's really low on the Danube. And we wanted to take a look at this partially because I wanted to think more about how I evaluate states, because I think with the new migration mechanics that arable land is a lot more valuable than it was before, and so I wanted to kind of take a look at evaluating states through like a resource score type of thing, which is what we did for that video, and it was interesting to find that you know, some of these places I thought were like really, really good, or maybe not as good as I thought they were, as a result of them just not having the arable land count. And so it's what I'm saying is, like, I think that I'm too fixated on this relative to agriculture, the resource tab relative to agriculture. Not abundantly so. Resources are still way better, but it's like a margin of how much better the resource is than arable land is. And there may be some states that only have just a ton of arable land that are worth taking. Well, there's definitely is, like Jiangxi also has a ton of coal, so this is a poor example, but there's so much arable land here makes it really, really good to take. I think North Bengal doesn't have resources, or they have some iron, but like not a lot. But this is I think part of how we do get enjoyment from continuing to play, even though we have 2,000 hours. It's not like we're learning something. It's not like we've taken South America and Brunei like a million times now, and like that isn't an interesting thing for me conceptually or cognitively. But doing stuff like kind of reviewing and rethinking our model of how we evaluate states, this is interesting to me. How can I play multiplayer with you? I currently don't play multiplayer. Let's let him down easy. I don't think I've ever really played multiplayer that much. The only time I've really played, the context I've played most, has honestly been subbing for the 3v3 games. And I find that really stressful to be dropped into someone else's game. I do not like being a sub in someone else's thing. Just like and not having time to like kind of figure out what's going on and like make my own plan of attack, and then like I don't know where they've put what and like what's built up in a particular way or anything like this. Just very confusing, crying, screaming, and throwing up. What are some of the best ways to add replayability? I have 850 hours. Yeah, this make YouTube videos. And the only reason I come back is to watch the number go up. It's more of an addiction than an actual enjoyable experience. I believe there needs to be a lot more ways to add variety in the game. In addition, to your early question, what do you think the best ways to add variety would be? Well, so to some extent, I agree. I agree here. I think mods is a good suggestion. I personally am playing 2 games. I'm playing the Line Go Up game, in 2 Line Go Up game. Vic 3 and YouTube videos. So, side note, I definitely don't watch your streams, but if I did, in theory, they would probably be pretty good. That's an interesting comment. But I think mods is a good suggestion for adding variance to the game. But I definitely agree that you kind of play all the countries as the same. And so this is something that they could do. You can also give yourself weird objectives. Or do achievement runs. A lot of enjoyment I get is just from understanding the game better. Can you write some sort of TLDR for your videos so I don't have to spend 20 minutes to an hour before each run I do watching your video? I'm assuming he's talking about starting steps. I mean, I try and front load the starting steps. And I also have a summary. At the end of play videos and tutorials. The thing is I don't want to massively... if I had a TLDR, like, it wouldn't be this massive explanation of step-by-step how to do something. If I had better summaries, they really wouldn't fully explain everything. I'm not sure if I can give this guy what he wants in a way that is like consistent with what I'm trying to do. So maybe a little bit of a bummer. What do you think of the RNG nature of passing laws in the game and the safe sum protection PDX put in? Is it a positive or a negative? I think it's kind of neutral. It introduces variance. Albeit, maybe not in the most realistic way. Because definitely trying to pass a law is something that is going to be uncertain and have variance in this type of thing. You can get around the safe scum protection. By making the tick happen on a different day. By manipulating your government. And this will work. We've already answered questions like this, like a bunch, so we're just not gonna... We are gonna answer it, but 2-line go up games. Also get joy from just understanding. Is this a good tactic to promote your YouTube channel? Why are they downvoting him? Okay, we're gonna upvote this. I think that's a fine question. I don't know why people are downvoting him. I don't know why people are downvoting you, my guy. I don't know why people are downvoting. Seems like a fine question. I don't think it's that effective. As far as I can see on Reddit, if anyone asks how to get better at this game, who should I watch for tutorials, this type of stuff, people recommend me anyways, so it doesn't really matter. I don't think it's that effective at promoting the YouTube channel. At promo, I think it's possible. It's possible that more people. Although I don't really know, I don't feel very confident that this is the case. I just think it's possible. More people link to Reddit from my posting that I'm doing an AMA. Then more people link to the Reddit from my posting that I'm doing an AMA than due to the YouTube from Reddit. I think it's more useful, more than getting people to promote the YouTube. It's kind of a way to farm content. And make a video, which you guys are watching now. So this is how I'm looking at it. At this point, the sub promotes him. Yeah, in his small corner of the YouTube market, he's pretty much the GOAT. I don't know about the GOAT, but at this point, I have the attention share of the hyper regulars. I think there's some other people making good tutorials too. Like, someone made a good migration tutorial somewhat recently, or fairly good. We skimmed through it. I still have a bunch of notes together for my own migration tutorial, so I'm still going to publish that. But now I almost feel like I'm stepping on their toes since they published one first, but they didn't publish one before we had a bunch of notes and, like, this type of thing, so... it's also probably not appropriate for me to feel like I'm stepping on their toes, but yeah, I don't think that they should be downvoting him. So we got through all the questions. We're going to refresh the page and see if there's any new questions that we haven't gotten to yet, and then maybe be concluding the video. Alright, so Fragrant number 5980 asks, at game release I was really good at the economy, but I feel every update I've gotten worse at it. How do you build a strong economy in the most recent version? Well, you're not getting worse. Nearly every patch has slowed down the player. in terms of achievable GDP. MAPI and local prices and vertical integration are really important now. And before it used to be the case that pushing throughput was really, really, really important. Pushing throughput's like almost just... I mean, pushing throughput's really good once you already have level 30 buildings, but you don't get to level 30 buildings anywhere near as early as you used to in 1.4, when you would just be building in 2 states. That was the meta. You would build in one state where you had a ton of resources, and you'd use the resources edict in that state, and you'd build in another state which had the manufacturing edict, and you would just build to the moon, and you would push throughput, so you would get to the level 31 buildings very quickly. And from a mathematical perspective, once you're like in the 30s, pushing to the 51 is super, super, super valuable, and so this is what you do. But now, you don't get to the 30s very, very quickly, and eating the MAPI penalty is just really not worth it when you're in the lower digits in terms of eating the throughput malus. And so as a result of having a sensitivity to local prices, you just don't push the throughput like you used to in patch 1.4 and before, where it used to be hyper meta. Let's see. Can France get an indigenous American primary culture somehow? I'm not aware. You have to release a country, you have to release players. And then annex France, if I recall correctly. I haven't done it yet. Someone on my Discord, although I don't know if he'd want to be mentioned, has linked me how to do it, and it's definitely being discussed on the Discord. So if you wanted to check out the Discord and ask about questions about it more, then you can. People can explain it better to me on my Discord. But yeah, you can get the indigenous American primary culture somehow. But I think you have to colonize someone and then release play as them, and then annex France. And it's this the Turtle Island exploit is just crazy and wild, and maybe we need to actually take a bit of a look at it. I'm still a little bit on the fence, but yeah, that'll be one. And then this is, I think, just a response to our response. Is this? Oh, this is actually something we really wanted to know, which is this against Reddit etiquette? What we're doing here, where we're not answering anything for like 24 hours. But to be fair, is this against Reddit etiquette? Do you have to answer immediately? No, I was just getting a chuckle of the mounting number of unanswered questions. However, I do love me and some instant gratification. Yeah, we'll see if this pushes up. We'll see. We'll probably keep answering questions. I think we'll link this down below. We will keep answering questions, so we'll put the link to the AMA down below. So the AMA might keep going for a little bit of a while, because I assume people who watch this video might be interested in going to the AMA. We'll keep answering questions. Probably won't make another video on it. I think I'll be releasing this video tomorrow. I suppose I could release it tonight. I was planning on releasing some more of the USA run. I guess I could just release both. I'll have to decide how I want to structure the releasing of stuff, but I will keep answering questions, because I will start being active on Reddit again, now that my joke is dead. My Bilbo Baggins reference is no longer a thing. Sad. Big sad. Real big sad. Hate to see it. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. A little bit more conversational, especially including me typing. Maybe I should have just paused in between me typing an answer and showing it instead of showing you my typing. This probably would have been better. Maybe I'll do that if I do another AMA video. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, or share, because we kind of talked about that a little bit. And other than that, have a good one. It's still Thursday at the time of recording, so I will wish you a happy Thursday, although for you guys it might not be Thursday.